Sweat dripped from my brow as I carefully brushed away centuries of sediment. The New Zealand sun was relentless, but I barely felt it. Something about this fossil. It was calling to me, a whisper from a long-forgotten time. "Dr. Martinez, you might want to see this." My assistant's voice cut through my concentration. The ground-penetrating radar had picked up something strange on the ridge. I gave a quick nod, my eyes still fixed on the peculiar markings on the bone in front of me. They weren't just scratches or cracks from time. They looked deliberate, like a form of writing. A shiver ran down my spine, a strange chill in the blistering heat. "I'll be there shortly," I called back, quickly snapping photos and scribbling notes in my journal. At 34, I'd carved out a decent career in paleontology, but it hadn't been an easy road. I was orphaned at 7, and my grandmother, my only family, passed away when I was just 16. I've had to fight for everything. The spiraling birthmarks on my shoulder blades, once a source of childhood teasing, were what my grandmother called my story waiting to be told. Maybe she was right. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, the rest of the team packed up. But I couldn't leave. I was drawn to this fossil, mesmerized. The strange markings seemed to almost dance in the fading light, stirring a feeling of recognition. It made no sense. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" A voice startled me. A woman stood nearby, her dark hair in a practical ponytail, her intelligent eyes studying me. "Dr. Lydia Chen," she said, offering her hand. "Paleogenetics. Dr. Whitman from your university thought you might need my help." I shook her hand, surprised by the warmth of her touch. "Sebastian Martinez. I didn't know he was sending anyone." "He mentioned you'd found something unusual," she said, gesturing toward the fossil. "May I?" I felt a strange sense of ownership, but I stepped aside. Lydia knelt down, her movements graceful, and pulled out a penlight. "These aren't natural," she murmured, tracing a finger just above the surface. "It looks like proto-writing, possibly ritualistic." She looked up, her eyes bright with curiosity. "How old is this specimen?" "Initial dating puts it around 85 million years old," I told her. "Which makes these markings impossible." Lydia's eyes widened. "Unless they're not as old as the fossil." "I thought of that," I countered. "The carbon dating of the pigment matches the fossil's age." I checked. Twice. Our eyes met, and in that moment, a spark of shared professional excitement lit up the space between us. "Have you ever seen anything like this?" she asked. I hesitated. "No," I began. "But—" I couldn't explain the uncanny familiarity, the feeling that I already knew this ancient language. Later that night, back in my tent, the wind howled outside. I was poring over photos of the markings, comparing them to old family documents my grandmother left me. There was a connection, a faint echo in the swirls and symbols of my family's history. A sudden violent gust of wind ripped through the tent, scattering my papers. As I scrambled to gather them, my shirt rode up. The lamplight caught the birthmarks on my lower back. My heart stopped. They were a perfect match for a section of the markings on the fossil. My phone buzzed, a message from Lydia. "Found something. Meet me at the lab. Bringing coffee." My mind was a whirlwind as I pulled on my jacket. All my life, I've been haunted by strange dreams, dreams of fire and flight, of ancient promises made under starry skies. I've been searching for answers about my family, about who I am. Maybe this impossible fossil and the equally enigmatic Dr. Chen were about to unlock secrets that weren't just etched in stone, but written in my very blood. What do you think these markings mean? And how are they connected to Sebastian? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you're hooked on this mystery, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss the next chapter of our story. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. The university lab was buzzing, but not with students. It was the hum of discovery. I was staring at a 3D model of a fossil, and Lydia, our resident genius, was pointing out something incredible. She'd found markings, symbols repeating in a pattern. "This isn't just decoration," she said, her eyes alight with excitement. "This is language." But that wasn't even the craziest part. She pulled up another image, a scan of my arm she'd taken earlier. It showed my birthmark, a strange, intricate pattern I'd had my whole life. Then she overlaid it on a section of the fossil. It was a perfect match. I mean, line for line. "Statistically impossible," Lydia whispered, and she was right. But she gave me a look. "You don't seem surprised." How could I be? I reached into my bag and pulled out the old leather journal my grandmother gave me. It had been in my family for generations, filled with handwritten notes, sketches of those same symbols, and stories of guardians and ancient pacts. Lydia's fingers brushed against mine as she turned the fragile pages, and I swear I felt a spark. "Your family," she breathed. "They've been tracking these symbols for centuries. Sebastian, this could rewrite everything we know about human history." Just then, a sharp knock echoed through the lab. A man in an expensive suit, looking completely out of place, stood in the doorway. Dominic Keller. His smile was cold, his eyes missing nothing. "Dr. Martinez, Dr. Chen, I hope I'm not interrupting." His gaze landed right on the journal. "I see you've made progress." I tried to play it cool, closing the journal. "Mr. Keller, I didn't know you had access to this facility." He just smirked. "Money opens many doors, Doctor. The Keller Foundation is considering funding your department." Keller was notorious, a collector who didn't care much for rules. He wanted rare artifacts, and it seemed our discovery was now on his list. Lydia jumped in, trying to downplay it. "We're in the early stages, nothing conclusive." But Keller's smile tightened. "Of course. Though I understand there may be connections to ancient Pacific legends. Dragons, I believe?" My heart hammered in my chest. We hadn't told anyone that theory. How did he know? After he left, Lydia was shaken. "He knows something," she said. I knew she was right. "We need to move faster," I told her. "The next site in my grandmother's journal is in the Waitomo cave systems." 3 days later, we were standing at the mouth of an uncharted cave. The moment I stepped inside, a strange feeling washed over me, like coming home to a place I'd forgotten. Lydia's flashlight beam danced across the walls, revealing more symbols carved right into the stone. We ventured deeper, and the narrow tunnel opened into a massive chamber. And there, embedded in the far wall, was a fossil larger than anything I'd ever seen. "It can't be," Lydia gasped. The skeleton matched the drawings from my family's journal. It was an ancient flying reptile, a species unknown to science. And surrounding it, markings that were identical, absolutely identical to my birthmark. As I got closer, the skin on my arm began to feel warm. Acting on pure instinct, I pressed my palm against the cool stone. With a low, grinding sound, a section of the rock slid away, revealing a hidden chamber. "How did you know?" Lydia asked, her voice a whisper. I just stared at my hand. I didn't. Inside, we found ancient texts and artifacts from a lost civilization that lived alongside these incredible creatures. As we worked, I noticed Lydia shivering in the damp air. I draped my jacket around her shoulders. For a moment, the world just fell away. Our faces were so close, our breath mingling in the cool air. But then, a sound from the cave entrance broke the spell, falling rocks. "We're not alone," I whispered, killing our lights. In the sudden darkness, Lydia's hand found mine, our fingers locking together. Her touch was an anchor as we heard footsteps, multiple sets getting closer. A strange heat began to build under my skin, something ancient and powerful stirring to life. "Keller," Lydia breathed, and it all clicked into place. This was never just about science. The markings, the journal, my birthmark, it was a legacy that Keller somehow already knew about. As flashlight beams sliced through the darkness, I pulled Lydia closer and whispered, "Do you trust me?" Without a single second of hesitation, she said, "Yes." And with that one word, I felt something unlock deep inside me, an inheritance older than time, written in my blood and in the stone. Thanks for watching our story unfold. This is just the beginning of a much larger adventure. If you want to see what happens next, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss a single update. See you next time. The mercenaries' flashlights cut through the darkness, their beams sweeping the ancient chamber. Hidden in a narrow alcove, Sebastian and I held our breath, our bodies pressed together. His skin was burning up, a strange heat radiating from him. I could feel the birthmarks on his back throbbing with an inner light, threatening to give us away at any moment. "Stay calm," I whispered, my lips brushing against his ear. "Your marks are reacting to something." He just nodded, trying to steady his breathing. Ever since he touched that wall, something had woken up inside him, a power he didn't understand, but felt strangely familiar. "Search every corner," Keller's voice echoed through the chamber, sharp and commanding. "Find the texts and the Martinez woman's grandson." My heart skipped a beat. How did Keller know about his grandmother? Sebastian's eyes met mine in the dim light, a silent question passing between us. "When I say run," he murmured, his voice low and urgent, "head for the south tunnel." I started to protest. "But that's a dead end." A faint smile played on his lips in the darkness. "Not anymore," he promised. Just as the mercenaries' footsteps grew closer, Sebastian pressed his hand against the solid stone wall beside us. The rock grew warm, then impossibly, it slid away without a sound, revealing a hidden passage. We scrambled through just as flashlight beams flooded the alcove we'd just abandoned. The wall sealed itself behind us, plunging us into a new tunnel. But we weren't in total darkness. A soft, amber glow pulsed from Sebastian's back, lighting our path. "How are you doing that?" I asked, my scientific curiosity momentarily pushing aside my fear. He shook his head. "I don't know exactly," he admitted, his voice filled with awe. "But I think my ancestors weren't just guardians. They were something more." The tunnel sloped downwards, leading us deeper into the earth. It finally opened into a breathtaking chamber, lit by glowing bioluminescent fungi. Stalactites dripped with moisture, catching the light like thousands of tiny, suspended stars. We were both exhausted. We slumped against a dry section of the wall to catch our breath. I started shivering, the adrenaline wearing off, and the damp chill of the cave setting in. Sebastian noticed and pulled me closer, wrapping his strong arms around me. "Body heat," he explained, a little awkwardly. I couldn't help but smile. Very scientific. Our eyes locked for a long moment, the strange, magical light of the cavern dancing in his. Then, almost without thinking, I leaned in and pressed my lips to his. It was a soft, tentative kiss at first. A question. He answered by deepening it, one hand coming up to gently cradle my face. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathless. "I've wanted to do that since the lab," I confessed, my voice barely a whisper. "I've wanted you to," he replied, a warm smile spreading across his face as he tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. Later, while I dozed against his shoulder, Sebastian studied his grandmother's journal by the light of his own skin. The old text spoke of guardians with fire in their veins, chosen to protect an ancient covenant between humans and beings called the Sky Rulers. Generation after generation of his family had carried this secret, this power, even as the true knowledge faded into legend. When I woke, we pressed on, following Sebastian's instincts. His abilities were growing stronger with every step. He could sense hidden pathways that had been sealed for millennia and read scripts that would baffle any modern linguist. There was a civilization here, he explained, his hand tracing patterns on the wall that I couldn't see. They were incredibly advanced, coexisting with these creatures. Not dinosaurs, not exactly dragons, but something in between. "And your family?" I asked. "Certain bloodlines were chosen as intermediaries," he said. "The markings were a gift, a connection. When the creatures became rare, the Guardian's job was to preserve their legacy." We emerged into a vast grotto, where sunlight filtered down through massive crystal formations in the ceiling, bathing everything in an ethereal light. In the center stood a temple-like structure built around what looked like nesting sites, but as we approached, the ground trembled violently. Sebastian reacted instantly, pulling me behind a stone column just as the entrance we used collapsed in a shower of rock and dust. Keller and his men had found us. "How touching," Keller sneered, his gun trained on us. "The last Guardian and his chosen companion." "How do you know all this?" Sebastian demanded, his body tense. Keller's smile was cold. "Your grandmother wasn't the only one preserving history, Dr. Martinez. My family has tracked yours for generations, waiting for the bloodline to strengthen enough to lead us here." "To what end?" I challenged him. "Power," Keller replied simply, his eyes gleaming with greed. "These creatures were vessels of an energy your ancestors learned to harness. Imagine what that power is worth today." I saw a wave of heat shimmer in the air around Sebastian, a physical manifestation of his rage. Keller saw it too, and his smile widened. "Yes, it's awakening in you. Perfect." He ordered Sebastian to open the temple door. With no other choice, Sebastian walked to the sealed entrance and placed his palm against it. The ancient door recognized his touch, sliding open to reveal what they had all been searching for. Inside, nestled in crystalline cases, lay several large, iridescent eggs. I gasped. "They're still viable." "Not just viable," Keller corrected, his voice dropping to a reverent whisper. "Ready." As if on cue, the eggs began to pulse with an internal light. Sebastian cried out softly, his own birthmarks burning in response, and in that moment, he understood. These weren't just fossils. They were a living legacy he was born to protect, a connection that stretched across time. And Keller was about to tear it all apart. Thank you so much for watching this epic adventure unfold. If you're as captivated as we are, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for the next chapter. You won't want to miss what happens next. Earth's last stand was a desperate ballet of light and fire around the lunar defense platforms. Coalition forces, battered and outnumbered, held the line against the silent, ravenous Voidborn. Then the sky broke, not with a crack of thunder, but with a silent, violent tear in the fabric of space itself. Through the rift emerged a vision straight from myth. 12 colossal dragons, their scales shimmering with the raw energy of the cosmos. Aboard the flagship Defiance, Admiral Helena Chen stared, her knuckles white on the console. "What in God's name are those?" Her lieutenant, eyes wide, stammered. "Unknowns, ma'am. They're engaging the Voidborn. They're helping us." Leading the draconic charge was a smaller, sleeker craft. Inside, Nico Reyes felt the battle as a symphony of chaos. 6 months ago, he was a scientist. Now he was a warrior, his skin etched with glowing sigils, a physical testament to his bond with the dragon Seraphina. He opened a channel, his voice steady. "Coalition Command, this is Nico Reyes of the Luminarix Alliance. Target the Voidborn carrier's lower quadrant. We'll handle the escorts." Beside him, Seraphina flew in her true form, a magnificent serpentine dragon with wings that seemed to bend reality. Through their neural link, Nico felt her joy in combat, a fierce, protective rage directed at the invaders. The Luminarix were devastating. They moved with an ancient grace, breathing streams of pure energy that vaporized the Voidborn's obsidian hulls. Nico's ship weaved through the fray, deploying disruptors that scrambled the enemy's hive mind network. "The mothership is pulling back!" Admiral Chen's voice crackled with a mix of relief and disbelief. They're retreating to Mars. Not retreating, Nico corrected, his tone grim. They're regrouping. We have to press our advantage now. The newly forged alliance pursued the Voidborn to the Red Planet. Amidst the swirling dust storms of Mars, the battle for humanity's future resumed. During a brief lull, Nico docked with the Defiance. As he stepped onto the bridge, a silence fell. The Coalition's leaders stared at him, at the luminous sigils pulsing on his skin, the flecks of amber in his eyes that perfectly matched his draconic partners. "You've been gone 6 months, Reyes," Admiral Chen said, her voice hard. "You return with alien dragons and whatever you've become." "I'm still human, Admiral," Nico replied. "Just something more. And right now, I'm Earth's best chance." He laid out the Luminarix plan, a surgical strike. A small team would infiltrate the Voidborn mothership while its fleet was engaged, planting destabilizers to cripple its transdimensional drive. "It's a suicide mission," Chen stated flatly. "Not with the right support," a melodic voice answered. Serafina entered the bridge, now in a humanoid form that radiated an almost tangible power. The connection between her and Nico was undeniable, an energy that hummed in the air. Their shared glances spoke of a bond deeper than words, a partnership forged in fire and loyalty. As the final assault was prepared, Nico and Serafina found a moment alone, looking out at the crimson plains of Mars. "If we do this," Nico began quietly, "if we win, what happens then? Do I go back with you?" Serafina gently touched the glowing sigil over his heart. "That choice will always be yours, Nico. But our bond, it transcends distance." "There will be no distance," Nico vowed, pulling her into an embrace as the Martian sun bathed them in an amber glow. An alarm blared, signaling the enemy's renewed advance. They shared one last fierce look, a promise exchanged without a word. The battle to save two species was about to begin, and whatever came next, they would face it together. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into another world, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our next story. See you in the comments.